I got naff all, to be honest. I got
Dean didn't turn up
absolutely.
to half his GCSEs. He went and
I
played
didn't.
golf.
All
Yeah.
husband related
There's a
niche
really
one.
good one. It's called How to Kill Your Husband. It's really good.
All about
No, How to
really
Kill Men and Get Away
Dean
with It.
sleeping with one eye open.
So I come home and I might be a bit stressed from school or whatever, and he just says to me, "It can't be that hard. You're just teaching them 2 plus 2." I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
I hate it so much, it hurts me. I stormed out
yeah.
of our sports day 2 years ago, didn't I? And wrote the school a letter saying how fucking ridiculous
An
it was.
email, you
An
know.
email. I went ballistic. Welcome to episode 39 of the Fun Dad, Dean and Wife Unfiltered podcast. I am Dean.
And I'm Sarah. So today we are thrilled to welcome a guest that in my eyes is kind of a little bit of a celebrity because as you know, I am a teacher and I am fangirling right now. So I discovered him along with many of my colleagues, and if you're a teacher, you probably know who I'm talking about, and that is Lee Parkinson, otherwise known as Mr. P. So I am so excited because he's got over 15 years of teaching experience, and he blew up a lot on Instagram, and he is known on Instagram and beyond for his hilarious and relatable takes on teaching. And I'm thrilled to have him in the studio today because obviously as a teacher, I have my opinions, and as a non-teacher, Dean has his. And today we can come together and have some debates.
Oh, I have a lot of opinions. Yeah. Looking forward to this one.
He has a lot of opinions on school. Okay, so welcome Lee to our podcast today.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm all right, I suppose.
I'm the one like going red and fangirling because I'm like, oh, it's Mr. P.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
thank you.
Anyone who's listening who is a teacher will understand why I'm
you
fangirling.
have
Or
got
just,
really weird on this one already.
oh, feels like I'm talking. Honestly, the amount of times that your memes have been shared between me and my colleagues, I reckon I've lost count.
You're more excited than
Genuinely.
our wedding or our first date or whatever. It's kind of weird. Anyway.
No, it's just nice
Oh,
because I
thank you.
mean, as you know, anyone who sees your page knows that you are passionate about teaching, but you
Yeah.
also don't take the bullshit that comes with teaching and you give your true opinions on stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's just try. I think I seem to be someone. I just sort of say what a lot of teachers are thinking, but probably feel too scared to say, I suppose. But I'm just very lucky that like the leadership team in my school aren't on social media, so they
What
don't
you mean
know.
they'd never seen your page?
No, no.
They don't even know
So
you exist on there.
no, they,
They
they,
do.
they, they they know I've got like a following and stuff because it's been funny on like school residentials when we've been and like other teachers from schools have come over for a selfie and stuff, which is quite funny. But yeah, like my head teacher's always been like, as long as nothing comes back to the school on that face tube, and I'm like, all right, we're sound if that's what you're calling it, a face tube. You
Face
know what I
tube.
mean? So
Yes,
yeah,
brilliant.
so
Well, today, obviously, for those of you listening, no, I am a primary school teacher as well. So I feel like we're gonna be like team teachers today against Dean. But being married to someone who is not a teacher and obviously has children, Dean often has opinions, quite strong opinions on things maybe that the school does or observations that he's picked up on. So he's prepared the questions for today for you
yeah.
that you can try and kind of give him the balanced answer because obviously you're a parent as well as being a teacher.
Yeah. So I've got 14-year-old triplets and a 21-year-old stepson. So yeah, I've it's
14-year-old triplets. Wow.
yeah, two boys and a girl, and we're entering teenage years, which is like a whole different adventure. It is just yeah, it's people say it gets easier. It does in some ways. It's like I've just got home from I was doing a conference today and I got home and I sort of sat on the couch and you know when you just your eyes go and you have a little snooze. That's something we don't talk about enough when you get teenagers. You get back to little daily naps, it's amazing. But then you have them literally fighting with each other all the time. It's just non-stop, just sort of nitpicking all the time. So yeah, it's I love them
I,
though. They're
I
great.
talk about the golden years, like the golden years, are like what, from 6 until about 10, aren't they? I
Yeah,
would say. Before that's a bit brutal, and after that, I think it starts to get like, God, these are annoying me now. You know, even
yeah,
seeing it with ours, the lips, unbelievable.
But that's where we were dead lucky. That's how old they were in the pandemic, in the lockdown.
Yeah.
So we had like a great lockdown because it was just spending so much quality time with them in that period where they sort of like you and they want to be with they don't find you cringe. That's all I get at the minute, like, oh dad, you cringe. Like, oh, Tilly showed me one of your videos on TikTok and dad, you're just so cringe. And I'm like, why are they following me? What 13-year-old should be following me on TikTok? Do you know what I mean?
No,
They're the
no,
Yeah.
losers.
I've had it.
What 13-year-olds following a teacher on TikTok? The loser.
Well, I know that Dean has got some really good questions fired up ready for you. And I feel like you're going to have a little bit of an interview on your hands, but I'm quite excited to hear your opinions.
Yeah, I've got to also question Dean on how good of a te partner to a teacher he is. You know, like how sympathetic he is to the
I'm
struggles of
bloody
being.
amazing. The most sympathetic husband of all time.
Like, has he ever helped out, like doing the displays at school or anything like that?
Never. I don't think
No,
he's
never.
ever set foot in my classroom.
Oh, mate,
What we supposed
mate.
to?
Yeah.
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 Or just a little bit of like cutting out at home, helping, bit of marking every now and again. No.
No.
The washing up.
No, he never has. I actually
Have you-
remember when Daisy, our eldest, was a baby and I was going back to school, I was put in a new year group. I went from reception to year two, and I
Yeah.
put pictures of Daisy in the travel cot. I took the travel cot into school in the classroom so I could set up my displays, and and she was still there.
Yeah.
That's
Do they
how.
help out now? Because my kids used to love coming into my school and helping out in the summer.
Um, if I'm brutally honest with you, no, because as soon as that school bell goes, we're off. We've got a caravan. We go
Yeah.
down the M4 and we're off. So
You don't
I
want
thought you
to
were going to
go.
say
She goes to
the
school to get rid of get away from our kids.
yeah, yeah. I
They
thought
don't
you were
want
going
them
to say
there.
no, they don't come into school because they're terrible at displays. Like they're awful at cutting at. Um, but no, yeah.
he
So
doesn't.
let's get to the first question and go right into the deep end. So I've made lots of videos on the curriculum, like taking the piss out of like why we learn about Henry VIII and Pythagoras' theorem and all this stuff. Because at school, I would say in primary school and secondary school, I was bored probably no. About 75% of the time, I would say. There was a few lessons I liked, like I like maths, but a lot of the stuff I learned, I wasn't engaged. So, what are your thoughts on the curriculum, and is it kind of beneficial? It's not beneficial for everyone, but does it need changing? Does it need
Yeah.
looking at? Why do we learn about Henry VIII? Why do we do that stuff? Why do we need to? That sort of. I know there's a lot of questions there, but
No,
let's get into that.
no, I completely get it, and it's interesting because so much of school is still the same from when we were there, but so much of it's different now. I will say I will back learning about Henry VIII till the hilt because that is just the best history topic to teach at primary school. Like, I absolutely Pythagoras theorem. Absolutely. Like, I don't think what we on day 14,028 since I've had to even think about it since leaving school. So I completely agree. I think there's so much of the curriculum where we can really question the relevance, and it's going to be interesting because there will be a new curriculum coming in they say in 2026. I think they're doing all the consultation at the minute. So it'll be interesting in what direction it goes because I think the current curriculum we're teaching, there is so much. I mean, the thing with like history, I think history is a really important subject because you've got to learn from where you've been to think about where you're going to go. And I think there's that saying, isn't it? If you don't learn from the mistakes of the past, you repeat them. And I think we're sort of heading that way in some ways. With the likes of the spread of misinformation and disinformation and online, and it's happened whenever a new piece of technology has come along. So whereas we've got this massive spread of fake news online at the minute because social media is this new tool that's in everyone's hands, the same thing happened with the printing press. So when the printing press was first invented, and all of a sudden you could get books to mass amounts of people, that coincided with a massive rise in women being killed for being accused of being a witch because there was this book that basically sort of talks about how to spot a witch in your village, and because that got printed and spread everywhere, all of a sudden everyone's going around accusing each other of being a witch,
You'd have been
and
killed.
yeah.
Jane.
So I mean, it's that sort of thing of how it's being taught. So the thing with history is it links to today because what you should be doing is sort of interrogating information, asking questions of where it's come from. Is there a bias with it, and is it a primary source of it? And the idea with that is you're then taking that knowledge into when you're navigating the internet of asking questions. Sorry, my dog is just kicking off here. Just bear with me a
That's
second.
all right. No worries.
She's the most. We got her during lockdown, and she's the biggest Velcro dog you've ever met in your life. Right, sit down. So there's, I think there's definitely relevance with that, but there's so much I really question, and what I would want to see with the new curriculum is a much bigger focus on teaching around like the technology we've got access to now.
Yep.
They talk about it as like digital skills, but I wouldn't even use that word digital now. It's so embedded in our lives that it's just essential skills of being able to, understand how the technology works that you're accessing, ask and evaluate the content you're seeing online and scrutinize it. That sort of critical thinking is so important. So I definitely agree. There's loads that I would think, do children really need to learn about Roman numerals in year four? They only need to know that.
More like life skills, isn't it? Or is that more
Yeah, yeah.
secondary school? Like children ain't got life skills. Well, I did when I left school. I had no life skills. I was like, how do I cook an egg? But like it was, I had nothing to take with me really. It was just like information I didn't care about because I never really listened, and now I haven't got any life skills either. And it was a bit like I wish I was taught this
Yeah,
other
I think
stuff.
schools have got better though. Like obviously we can't comment too much on the secondary journey. Obviously you've got your
No,
children
no.
in secondary, so you can. But I think what we've had conversations about before, like around the dinner table and stuff, was, you know, like I left school and I went to a really good school and I actually left school, got a job, and I was like, oh, I can't read this pay slip. What's tax? I didn't even know
Mm,
what national insurance was. Like those kind of
yeah,
life skills later on in life. I wonder
yeah.
now if they're part of the secondary curriculum and if the curriculum is getting a bit more balanced, like you say, with those essential skills.
I don't know if it is, to be honest. I mean, again,
Really?
I've never worked a day in secondary in my life, so I can only speak about secondary from a parent's perspective, really. Um, but I don't think much has changed from our school day. I think there's still questions about. It's like mine are picking their options at the minute, and there's this sort of pressure. Don't know if you've heard of EBAC. So when it comes, basically, I don't know if it's going to continue now that the government, well, the government introduced it, aren't doing it anymore. But it was this pressure to pick certain subjects, and
Yeah.
you have to pick like a language, a humanities, so history or geography, and it winds me up because it pushes the art subjects out, which I think for some children can be really important and such a powerful outlet for them. And it's sort of this focus on. It's like my stepson when he was doing his A levels, he studied history to A level, and then he was looking at studying history in uni. And when we've got one of the prospectus from whichever uni it was, and you look at history as a degree, it does like suggested jobs. And the
Yeah.
suggested jobs of doing history at uni was like a history teacher or a historian. And it's like, that's not the most, it's so limiting as what you can do.
Yeah.
And obviously it is a really important, subject, as I've mentioned, but there needs to be more connections to the world we live in now and how it can, help children. And I think there definitely is a space for more life skills. Absolutely. I think that is something that everyone's crying out for. Um, so fingers crossed. I mean, I'm just the problem you've had is we've had a curriculum over the past decade or so, which has been designed by Michael Gove, who wanted every child in the country to just learn the curriculum he learned at school, and
Right.
brought in loads of stuff that just isn't really
Yeah.
relevant. And it's sort of this focus on this massive push on knowledge, right? You ask any teacher at the minute, and they'll tell
Knowledge
you,
and
I'm six.
skills.
Uh,
A lot of it's memory, a lot of it's memory as well, isn't it? It's not
well,
just
yeah, yeah.
thinking, it's just memorizing stuff. Is that being clever? I suppose it is, but it's not the only way to decide it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, so exam. It's because of exams. It's because basically at the minute the only way in which we test and assess students' understanding is through exams. Whether that's SATs tests at primary and then you got your GCSEs. Um, what worries me is as obviously we've got all this AI tech now that's becoming so prominent, um, and which is a nightmare for secondary schools because when it comes to like coursework,
I was going
kids are
to ask
just
you about
using
that. Yeah,
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 it's just all AI generated, so that's a nightmare. So what will end up happening is they'll just double down on exams. It'll be like that's the only true way in which we can test children's learning, but it doesn't test children's learning. Like you say, it tests children's memory.
Right.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I find it mad that we base everything at secondary school on these exams that at no other point in their life will they sit there without access to anything else and just have to regurgitate facts to answer questions. It's like not a real world application. Now, when I've been doing some of my training around AI, I was in a university recently, and a lecturer said to me, she said, "Oh, we're finding it a nightmare now because all the students are just using AI for dissertations and coursework. What do you think about that?" And my honest answer was I was just a bit jealous that it wasn't around when I was at uni. Do you know what I mean? It'd have made my life a lot easier. But then this other lecturer said, "Well, what we're doing now is we're just flipping how we assess the students' learning. So they'll give a task." And they'll say, right, you need to go and learn about this, and you can use whatever you want, right? You want to use a bit of AI, you can do. But the way we're going to assess you is we're going to give you a 5 minute window where you'll sit with me and I'm going to ask you questions and I'm going to interrogate you for you to then to basically check your learning, which for one of my sons would be perfect for the way that he learns. Like one of my sons, ADHD is dyslexic, and we worry about the next couple of years for him going into GCSEs and exams because it is just he does just not fit that box. I mean, I don't worry about him in terms of when he gets out of school. My wife worries a lot, and I always say, just don't let school get in the way of his education with Harry because he'll go on and he'll be fine. Like
Yeah.
making an absolute killing on Vinted at the minute, Harry. He's got into Vinted and he keeps selling everyone's
Yeah.
clothes. Yeah.
ADHD trait, isn't it? Entrepreneurship. It's a massive trait of ADHD. They
Yeah.
don't do so
Well,
well
I
at
mean,
school normally, but it's out of school they do better.
yeah, he's the sort of kid that'd have his own little tuck shop in his blazer sort of thing. So it'll go on, it'll be fine. But it's just frustrating because I think exams only test a certain type of intelligence, which just, again, is just not really applicable to the world we live in now.
No.
So,
And the pressure they're under. I've got a friend who's doing the GCSEs at the minute, or daughter of a friend, and they have to sit like 25 exams, 25 GCSEs.
we
Like,
did that really.
This is going to sound really bad, but I don't care that much about their results. I've got to be honest. I'm not that way inclined. I feel like I care a bit because I want to learn the basic stuff, but I'm not going to put them under so much pressure to get these
yeah.
results. I'm just not that way inclined. I do believe in because I got naff all to be honest. I got
He didn't turn up
absolutely.
to half his GCSEs. He went and played golf
I did no
instead.
coursework. I just didn't enjoy school. School wasn't a good fit for me. It just wasn't. And
Yeah.
so
What
Whereas
what do you put that what do you put that down to? Because I mean, you've said about it being the curriculum, but was there anything else? Was it? I mean, did you have a teacher when you were at school that you
I
were?
liked maths. So I
Yeah,
liked maths, but that's the only subject I liked. All the rest of them I just did found disinteresting. Um, I did like maths and sport, and they were my two ones at school. And my secondary school was just a bad place. I spoke about on the podcast before. It was just an awful school, the worst in the area, and you just couldn't learn there. Like you'd go
yeah,
into the
yeah.
class and people throwing chairs at teachers and stuff. It was mad place. So it was hard to
So it was
learn.
more the environment of the school you were in.
Environment and the subjects. I just what like I didn't.
But do you think so?
Go
I'm just caveating him because I feel like I have
on.
to have the teachers' backs here. Do you think had
So
you
that was
had a
I'm not blaming the teachers.
no
I'm
no
just saying
no
that was me
yeah, but
personally.
you're saying you weren't interested in those subjects? Maybe it was the way in which they were taught.
Could be.
Because I
100%
remember
could be,
being at
yeah.
school and I had the opposite experience to Dean. I loved school. I went to an all-girls
Yeah.
grammar school and there was no fighting in our school. Like that didn't happen. And I remember the subjects I liked the best, genuinely, I'm not just saying it because I am one, but the subjects I liked the best was also not necessarily down to the content, but down to its delivery and if I liked the teacher. And the
Oh
team
yeah,
support is so important.
Yeah,
yeah.
that is important. If I think
I mean,
back,
what was your math teacher like? Did you get on with them, or was
no,
it not really? No.
I'm
So
not
what, it
going
was
to go
more
into
the
that. I do
subject.
remember her name.
Oh,
Mrs. Irwin was her name in secondary school, but
Yeah,
it was okay. I just enjoyed maths. I found maths not easy, but I just enjoyed it.
number,
I
didn't you?
enjoy numbers,
Yeah.
weirdly. They're black and
yeah,
white. Numbers are black and white. There's no in the middle like geography or history or you know what I mean. It's right or wrong, and I like right or wrong in my mind. So it was don't know. Well, and I'm
yeah,
very good at the other stuff.
yeah, yeah.
My English,
But-
Sarah's like your grammar's awful.
Grammar
ChatGPT,
yeah.
is awful.
AI is amazing for grammar.
Do you find yourself doing that on social media when you see like the there, and there, or the two and two, and you're like, oh, that needs
Do you
to
know
be
what?
changed?
I just keep getting stitched up now by like auto captions. You know, like if I
Okay.
make a video and I put
Yeah.
auto captions on, sometimes I think like, oh, I've spoken clearly enough there. It's not going to pick up, and then it'll get a there and there wrong.
Oh,
And
how
next minute,
dare it?
I'm getting all the flack. Then like, oh, I can't believe a teacher doesn't know the difference. It's like it's not that. I just didn't have time to check the auto captions. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm not a thingy. I'm not a stickler for grammar. Only if someone's having a go at me on social media. So you know, if someone's like in the comments giving me a bit of grief, and
Yeah.
then they spell something, you know, they get, and I'm a bit like, right.
Yeah.
I could go in, I could go in and have a go, but no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting. And I don't think it is built for it, and it's a shame really because um, I enjoyed school. I loved school when I was, and I think that's the story for a lot of teachers, isn't it? But it's funny, I've come across some teachers who didn't have a very positive experience at school and then went into teaching because they didn't want that to be the case for other kids.
Yeah.
Um,
Because let's be
but
honest, we're not in it for the money.
oh God, no, oh God, no, no,
The
Like,
absolutely.
fulfillment, though, fulfillment.
I definitely say so. Like,
Yeah, you're really fulfilled.
have you ever had a really bad day or a really bad morning or something in your life's happened and you just go into school and as soon as you see those children, they just lift you up and you kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
forget your problems at
Oh
home
yeah, yeah.
and you go into school and it's like, oh, actually, you're making me really happy today.
Yeah, they are amazing. The kids, they're the best part of the job. But what we've done in this country with teaching is we've taken that and just sort of weaponized it against teachers to expect more of them
Yeah.
with less, and sort of then blame them for everything. You know, it's always teachers' fault for sort of everything, which I find really frustrating. But yeah, the children, you're working with the most hilarious, unintentional comedians on the planet. That's what I love. I just love like the my favorite thing about teaching is when kids just innocently misunderstand stuff. You know, like what was the one we had the other day?
That'd be rude.
Uh, and it was like, oh, it was a teacher in Yorkshire said to a class, "What does the word propaganda mean? What does propaganda mean?" And the child went, "Oh, it's when you have a reek good luck."
Oh,
A propaganda. It really made me laugh. Um, So yeah, they are just absolutely hilarious, the kids. So it does make it special. It really really does. I do love teaching. I just think it should be the best job in the world when you get the environment right in a school.
yeah.
And I just think to get an environment right, you've got to have teachers who are like trusted and looked after and you know treated as professionals. Because if you've got happy teachers, you'll then have happy kids. You know.
Because I think as well in the media at the moment, I think sometimes, particularly at the moment, teachers are getting a little bit of a bashing. So
Mm,
I know that Dean's made, for example, a few videos,
Not teacher
based
bashing,
no,
though.
no, but based on the whole the fining situation for taking your children out on holidays, and that debate is very, very topical at the moment. And you kind of
yeah.
Dean made a bit of a piss take video, let's say, about that because basically my school took it upon themselves to give, the 2 week half term in October last year.
Oh yeah.
At which point, Dean and I were absolutely thrilled because our eldest is 10, and we'd never been on an all-inclusive holiday abroad ever.
Yeah.
10. So I just thought, you know what? Her attendance is always like, her attendance was like 99% or something. She's barely missed a day. And I
Mm,
just said to Dean, let's do it. We can have,
yeah.
a holiday. And we took the kids out of school. And you made a video, didn't you, from the Sun Lounger on holiday?
One of my
Funny enough.
best performing videos,
But
that.
the comments, I get really defensive because sometimes I go into Dean's comments and I have a look, and
Yeah.
people are like, kind of attacking the teachers for it, or maybe like, but it's not our, we didn't bring in that initiative. We didn't necessarily want that
I think
initiative.
people with a brain cell know it's not the teachers that though. They do. They know the fines isn't the teachers. Like surely.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be
Does the
surprised.
head teacher have a choice though? That's my question. Does the head teacher have a choice to enforce it, or could they sly that one?
Potentially, but it could come back and bite them in the backside. Because I get the thing that annoys me with attendance is again it gets weaponized against the school when school have so little power to do anything about attendance. Like I don't know what schools can do beyond what they're already doing.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that schools will do, I'm not a massive fan of, like attendance awards. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of awarding kids who get 100% attendance. Striving for that's great, but if a child's ill.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that. But schools feel they've got to do something because it is a stick to beat schools with. Um, and really, I think attendance should be more of a council-led sort of initiative, especially if that's where the money from these bloody fines are going, apparently. I mean, I still don't know. I mean, I'd love it if the fines were coming into school, but they're not,
Yeah.
and we need every penny. I think the fines are absolutely ridiculous. I just think they do nothing to deter. Um, Families from doing it and you've got to look at the bigger wider problem of like the current situation we're all living in, the sort of cost of living crisis, because we live in a world now where we're just more busy than ever before. Like I made a video about this the other day because there was, I think it was American, but this mum was basically saying school should be all year round. School should be
Saw this
all
one.
year round.
Saw
Yeah.
this.
Why should kids get 3 months off when I don't get 3 months off? And I went in and I was like, look, it's not schools that need to change. It's like the workplace environment. I just feel like there's this narrative of for you to be a successful parent now, or a good parent, you've got to provide, you've got to work to put food on the table. But the way the workplace is, where you're working more hours, and I'm not talking about teaching, this is just generally every job. You're working more hours than you've ever worked before. You've got your work emails on your phone, so you're never truly switched off. And it's this pressure of you've got to be pulling your weight at work because if you're not, you're so easily replaceable. So work gets prioritized over everything. And it's almost like for you to be a good parent now, you got to spend the least amount of time with your own children. It's madness. And so that forces holidays to become even more important than they probably were back when we were younger. Um, and I saw a video the other day. I mean, I shouldn't be one to sort of say, "Oh, I saw this video," because sometimes that winds me up because it's almost like, "Where have you heard that?" Oh, TikTok, and you're like, "Yeah, most of the stuff on TikTok's not necessarily true," but it was talking about 90% of core memories in young children. So 90% of memories you have as a kid are from holidays
Yeah.
that you
Yeah,
have with family.
definitely,
Definitely.
definitely.
Yeah.
And so we all know that, and we all know how precious, because on a holiday you get, I think for us as parents, that's the time we really get to switch off because we're away from home. You're away from the mundane sort of washing up, like we're saying, all the household chores which can grind you down, and it's a time where you just get to spend quality time with your kids. So that for so many families now is going to trump a week or 2 weeks at school because you think what the children are getting out of that is good. And I can't defend that. It's not.
Three Blind Mice.
Oh, here we go.
Singing Three Blind Mice is
Things
really
I do in school.
singing Three Blind Mice is really important. We can't miss that this week.
Yeah, you said earlier. You said earlier, is he supportive? Sometimes he come home and I might be a bit stressed from school or whatever, and he just says to me, "I can't be that hard. You're just teaching them 2 + 2." I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
I
mate, you
do
got to up
not
your game
think
there. At
that.
least play the game.
Looking after 30 kids is my worst nightmare. I do not
Yeah,
understand how teachers do it. It's not for me at all. Having 2 kids is hard enough. 30 kids is...
yeah.
So I don't think that at all. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I'd
Likes to have
otherwise.
a dig now and again about it.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, the fines. I mean, I saw what was it like? Center Parks is the best example. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally a grand and a half dearer to go in the holidays. It's
Sometimes more, I'd say.
yeah, it's
Fifty.
absolute madness.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think obviously when it gets to a certain point, so for me now as a pet, I don't think I'm going to be thinking about, not that I would necessarily, but between now and when the kids do the GCSEs.
Yeah.
I think, but at primary, I mean, it's miss. And what annoys me is it's like we're the only feeling teachers have towards kids going on holiday during term time, the only feeling we have is jealousy that we can't do it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like
Because
you're
they
getting
ain't
to go on this
important
cheap holiday.
then.
Yeah, we're the ones having to pay in
Yeah.
the holidays, you know. And I'm not going to lie. For some of the students we teach, we're sort of at parents' evening. We're playing the Jess Glynne song with the Jet2 advert on in the background, sort of going, you know, there's a really good offer on now.
Yeah,
If you
get
give
them
me
out
a
of the
bit of a
class for a
break,
couple of weeks. They're fucking
yeah,
good
yeah,
money.
But I think as well, when we're trying to explain to parents, like some of the comments again, like on Dean's video when he was, I think you were like, all right, Mr. Gibson, and he was pretending to ring up the head teacher about it. And people
Because
were
you would ring the
yeah,
teacher,
but
wouldn't you?
people were saying things
mm,
like, oh, well, can't the teacher just provide them more work for them? Can't the teacher just give them this, give them that? And I tried to explain this to Dean, and I tried to say, well, actually, we're overworked enough as it is. And if you've got 30 kids in your class, or maybe you teach across a few classes,
yeah,
actually to provide that work, if different child's going on
We
holiday
could
every
just
week,
sing the rhymes on the beach.
the rhymes, here he goes.
You don't need to provide any work.
All
Just
right, not just for separate, say your child's in year 5 or year 6. It's just, I just, yeah, I think
yeah, yeah,
like you say, I think there's as well as a teacher, I think at some point they need to give the ownership back onto the teachers around this, because if you're worried about a child's attendance, or if you're worried about a child is dipping, then you have that relationship with that parent to have a discussion. Is everything
yeah, yeah.
okay? Like, what's going on? And actually, if a child's got 99 100% attendance, and then they're going to go on a once in a lifetime family
Oh,
holiday
yeah, yeah.
to Florida.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it, to get fined for that?
But
It
it,
is really,
but it
really
is. But
silly.
like you say, Lee, where does the money go? And if it went to the school,
It
I'd be
went back to
happy to
school,
pay
it'd
it.
be all right. If it went back to school, it'd be all right. It wouldn't
Yeah,
worry that
I
much.
know.
It'd be
I
a
don't
bit
know where.
annoying. We'd be like, at least we know where it's going.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't have a clue, and I've read an article where it talks about the amount of fines that have been given, and it's thousands of pounds. So I don't know, but it's like you say,
millions.
Michael
schools should
goes
have the
holidays, it paid for his holiday.
yeah, schools should have the discretion because, like, obviously attendance is an issue, but the biggest issue of attendance is nothing to do with the holidays.
No.
It's, again, it'll be a lot of it's down to sort of mental health issues with young people and lack of provision for particular needs
Yeah.
and stuff like so that needs addressing. The odd week, I think a better system would be like there's a 10-day discretion across the school year uh, that parents can use if they want. It's
It's such a sensible,
primary.
it's such a sensible approach. It won't happen. That's the
Well,
problem.
yeah,
It's such a
yeah,
sensible
yeah.
approach. It won't happen. It's like too obvious. It's like
Yeah.
too obvious. It's just
But on that note as well, so as a teacher of a primary school, and it's putting you on the spot a little bit, but if you could give our listeners and Dean's followers kind of just their top tip of primary advice, how they could probably best support their child right now, maybe if you've got a child in any phase of primary school, what
Yeah.
what's the best thing that they can be doing for their kids?
Just read with them.
Read, yeah.
Read with them. I think as much as I'm an advocate for technology, I think the longer you can keep kids off screens, the better.
Yeah.
I think, and I know I've seen videos where you've talked about this, Dean, about like not giving your kids access to screen. I know it's hard, and there's no sort of judgment from me on when because I think there's a lot of pressure on parents when your kids are coming to you going, oh, my mate's on this, and oh, I'm being left out because I'm not in this group. But the only time I would want children using technology is in class with me because
Right.
that's when I know I can safeguard them and I know I can educate them about how to use it effectively. Um, and I saw a quote a while ago, which was like, as soon as you give kids access to social media, you end their childhood.
Oh,
yeah.
And
I've got something similar.
it's such a powerful and if any parents listening to this who's got a child maybe year 5 year 6 and feeling this pressure of giving them access to social media, my tip is before you give into it on your device, set your kid up an account, like go in, set them up with their date of birth but on your phone, on your parents' phone,
yeah.
and just for a week monitor what the algorithm
Same.
sends them, the sort of content the algorithm sends them. And after a week, I guarantee you won't give them access to it.
Yeah.
Um,
This is
I've
very
been reading this book called The Anxious Generation. I don't know if you've come
Oh,
across it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, some of it's a bit I think I agree with a lot of it. Some of it I'm not so sure on, because I think for younger generations, like my teenagers, when they talk about screen time, a lot of it is like they're talking with the mates, which is what we used to do when we were younger. Do you remember when you were like 14
MSN,
and
was
you'd
it?
say what,
MSN
sorry?
Messenger, was it? MSN
Yeah,
Messenger?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or I might be even a little bit older because I'm talking about being on the landline to your
Yeah, I was
mates.
gonna say,
Oh, okay.
You know,
I wasn't even allowed MSN Messenger.
oh no.
I know.
So you never had the luxury of changing your status to some sort of musical lyric from
No, never had it.
Blazing Squad or whatever it was back
Celtic
in the
Shark
day.
didn't have it. Yeah, but I like
Um,
you say the landline because it's weird because we were talking about that on the podcast, weren't we? And what I was saying is maybe a just to bridge the gap. I'm happy to get a landline in our house, and Daisy,
mm,
our eldest, can ring up her friends if she wants
But
to
there's
speak to
other
them.
phones, not smartphones.
Oh,
You
I'm
can,
getting this
yeah,
oh right
yeah, but
now.
there are that they can
Yeah.
use. Like other apps you can use, like decent apps, not like Instagram. Instagram's
yeah,
great, but just not for kids, you know. But
yeah.
there's other phones you can have, can't there? So
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like the point of sort of that's what we used to do. You used to sit there just talking to your mates for
yeah,
hours, and your mum would pick the phone up because she wanted to phone a mate, and you're like, "No, mum, get off the phone. I want to speak to my." And so that for a lot of younger people is how they communicate with the friends. Um, and but yeah, at primary school they just don't need it. They just don't need it. And I'm finding that now what it does is it just exposes kids to just so much content that's just so beyond. I used to want to teach year six. Like year six, I was desperate to teach the top end of primary school. Um, I wouldn't do it now
Mm.
because what they are, the sort of stuff they're saying in class, they're just almost, I wouldn't say mature because mature is not the right word, but it's like they're exposed to so much inappropriate content that they don't really understand.
Before
And they're
they're
just,
ready.
before they're ready, and
Yeah.
it's like just let them be kids, just let them. And I've been
Yeah.
very regimented with it as a parent, to be honest. So my kids have never had like phones at the dinner table at restaurants or anything like that, and I held off until they were 13 before they got certain apps. But then they were like, as soon as they were 13, we're old enough now. And I was like, right, yeah, that's fine, but you're not getting free reign. We've got to put time limits on it. So we had a discussion about it because I want them being involved. I said, how long do you think you should be on YouTube a day? And Harry was like 3 hours. I was like, oh mate, you've already failed the first test. You know what I mean? So they get like an hour. They're not allowed it in the bedroom. They've got to bring me their phones before they go bed, so I charge them in my room, and then I make it clear to them that every couple of week, I'll just have a look at what they've been watching on those platforms. Like that's the trade-off. Like if you want access to it, I need to keep an eye on what you're seeing because it's not that I don't trust my kids. I don't trust these algorithms.
Yeah.
I don't trust these algorithms that aren't sending content in the kids' best interest. And this is the thing, I get so conflicted with social media because on the one hand, for me personally, I'm sure it's the same for you guys, it's changed my life. Like
yeah, yeah,
being in a position where I'm getting to do stuff like this and books, published books, doing tours, all sorts, right? But then I also see the sort of detrimental impact it's having if you think like politically and stuff like that. And it all comes down to a lack of education that the vast majority of people just don't understand how social media works. Like social media is not there to do anything other than keep you on social media in whatever way possible, right? So you never get to the end of your news feed. The infinite scroll is always there to just get you to chase that next little dopamine hit. It doesn't show you content you necessarily want to see. It's all about showing you content you can't look away from. And the one emotion that keeps people on social media the longest is anger and outrage. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll know this, Dean, but I guarantee the videos that you get the most amount of engagement on won't be necessarily the ones that you sit there and you write out and you think are hilarious. It's the controversial ones.
yeah, yeah. When
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pissed off and I say something controversial, yeah, they fly. They fly.
Because
People
that's
agree with me or people hate me, and they're the ones that fly. And
yeah, yeah.
I don't do it on purpose. I just have an opinion and say it, and yeah, people either like it or they don't, and it just that's what happens, doesn't it? But yeah, that is true. You
But I
respond
find
you
it
respond to anger more than you do happiness. The brain
yeah,
does
yeah,
it's sort of more attracted to it weirdly. Um,
yeah, yeah. So I notice it with mine. Like, I'll sit there and I'll write a funny video that I think, oh, I've nailed this. We'll be all right. Get a few views. Then I'll make a video where I'll be like, oh, do you know what? Teaching's hard because of this, this, and this. And then the comment, you don't know how easy you've got it. You get all these holidays. And it just invites Dean to make his game. I'm only messing. And it's like, and they're the ones that go, but the platforms know that. So they're the ones it's those sort of videos that they'll push out to people. And
Mm.
if you're not clued up enough to be able to navigate it, you get sucked in, and that's where it sort of manipulates and influences people, and in some cases, like radicalizes them.
The
And so,
echo chamber of the internet, they call that, isn't it? The echo chamber.
yeah, yeah,
Same
and
stuff. So you think everyone believes what you believe because you're just seeing the same stuff over and over again. It's called the echo
exactly,
chamber. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, something I'm talking about a lot of my training is how to get around that. And for me, it's like you've just got to be in control of the algorithm, and not let it control you. So the platforms will push content to you because it's engaging to people similar to you. And if you don't want to see it, you've got to tell the platform. You've got to press your three dots in the top corner, show me less of this. I don't want to see this. So that you can curate an algorithm that is actually quite useful and productive, because actually there's so much useful content out there. You've got to make sure you're channeling it. Now, how many adults aren't aware of that, let
Yeah.
alone these young people? And so when the kids bring me their phones, and I have a little look through, what I also, this is like a little parenting hack that I have, is that, you know, I hack their algorithms. So they'll bring me their phones and they'll be like, and I'll have a look through, and I'll just start searching stuff into YouTube. And I know by searching that topic, YouTube will use that data to send them that content because it wants to keep them
Okay.
on that. So football skill videos, rugby videos, whatever they are studying in school, I'll sneakily put it in. And then the algorithm pushes that when they're next on. Because, there is some useful
Yeah, you
stuff
can.
on there.
I've
Yeah.
seen them.
Um,
Yeah.
Although my daughter's clocked onto it, I think she came to me and she said, "Have you been telling YouTube I need to clean my room?" And I had.
They're not stupid, those 14-year-olds.
Cleaning tips
No,
popping up.
No.
yeah, but there is a serious point to it, because I've been talking about this on my training, and there was a teacher who got in touch with me off the back of it, and he said, "Look, I really appreciate the training, and the stuff you were talking about with algorithms and stuff really resonated." So I went home and checked my 14-year-old son's TikTok, and he said, I thought worst thing I'm going to find here is that he's maybe following a couple of these OnlyFans models or whatever it was. And he said when he had a little look through his son's TikTok page, it absolutely floored him because every video was around self-harm and suicide.
Oh,
No.
And when he spoke to his son was planning on taking his own life. That's how severe it had got. And he said he did not have a clue. And the only thing his son had
my
searched
hair stand up
into,
on it and that.
yeah, the only thing his son had searched was the term mental health.
Wow.
But the algorithm can't differentiate between positive mental health content. It just goes, show them some stuff, and whatever grabs their attention, flood them with as much of it as possible. So I
Wow.
mean, it can be so dangerous, but the key with it is education. There's the genie's out the bottle. You're not going to be able to never have people using social media, but we need so much more. We need regulation of the platforms as well, but that education element, but only when it's the right time. Let kids be kids first. Let them build relationships. Let them, build friendships, not through apps at primary. They don't need it. And you'll know as a teacher, the workload that now goes into sorting issues because kids have devices is and not just that, the behavior element to it as well. Like, I think teaching's harder now because we're competing with it. We're competing to engage kids who are spending a couple of hours just flicking and just getting those
Yeah.
quick little dopamine hits, and it's just impossible to compete with that. So it's
We often,
making our job harder.
we often say in school, I met up with a colleague today who's actually left the profession now. She's retired, but met
Mm.
up with her, and she started just working in some nurseries and stuff, like changing her vibe. And she's like, I can tell probably within 10 minutes of being at the nursery and observing the children, maybe reading them a story on the carpet, I can tell which children have iPads at home and which don't.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
it
absolutely.
is that stark that you
Wow.
can tell.
Yeah, yeah.
terms
Oh,
of
I can.
curiosity, the type of play they do, their engagement in a story time. Because, like you say, when I'm reading a story, I've got to compete with Blippy and Miss Rachel. Just me with my story at the front,
Can't
Yeah.
Miss Rachel.
Uh, yeah.
Thanks.
It's
You
it's
can't.
it, it's tough, and but going back to like reading, this is why it's so important, because we can have the discussion about homework at primary. If I, as a teacher, the only thing I'd want kids to practice at home, times tables, practice times tables. If you can nail them, if you can get them off to a T, it helps with so many other areas of math. And then just read, just have a love for reading. And I think that comes from parents as well. I know there's so many parents who probably didn't have or don't read themselves or have much of a love for reading, but just pretend. Just pretend. Like I've never been a massive avid reader, to be honest. But once the kids were born, I threw myself, like it was like the best thing I do is read, and it's just sharing a story with your kids, so powerful. And it's so much fun, like getting away from a screen and just sitting there and doing the voices and making them laugh and just sharing a story that they will remember. Like you can speak to my kids now, they'll tell you every book we've read through the years. And it starts right, from the Julia Donaldson books when the babies, because of the repetition and the musicality. Um, so there was research done in South Wales that it's the 848, where if a 4-year-old can recite 8 nursery rhymes, so not read them, not write them, just be able to recite them, they are more than likely going to be in your top two groups of readers by the age of 8,
Wow.
because of the sort of like musicality of
Yeah.
So Three
of,
Blind
of it.
Mice is worth it then.
There you go,
There
dude.
you go. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
We've gone full
But
circle on that one,
that's
haven't we?
interesting because there's some books at home that I go to read with our youngest at bedtime. So she's 6 now. And
yeah,
one book, we've got this version of the Three Little Pigs. I'm not allowed to read it because Daddy, when he reads it, he changes all the names of the Three Little Pigs to the names of her friends in class. And Dean changes the book so that they fart the houses down.
yeah. Well, that
And
love it.
and
A house is made out of horse shit. I say poo, but they love it though. They will love all
he
that.
changes it all and and I'm not allowed to read that book. If I get that book out, she's like, no, no,
Yeah,
Daddy
yeah.
wants
That's
Uh,
daddy's
that book.
books.
That's Daddy's
How
version.
amazing is that? How amazing is that?
no.
I love it.
She loves
But
it.
and again, this is where AI can help, because you can get AI to write your stories
Yeah.
about your kids, and make them superheroes, and write a story about this, and drop in a bit that, drop a subliminal message that they need to tidy the room to get extra powers and all that. And then all of a sudden you've got this personalized story
Yeah.
about your kids that so yeah, it's so like I love that. I love like being able to, yeah, it was always the voices, like more the kids laughing at my terrible accents trying to do different voices. But yeah, it is so important. The other bit of research is the biggest indicator of how successful children will be later on in life. The single biggest indicator of how successful they'll be is whether they read for pleasure.
Wow.
That's it. So, I mean, if you can
I'd say
get your
reading
kids,
changed my life because I started reading on the Kindle and I've
Yeah.
read loads and loads of books and it's really,
yeah,
really changed a lot of things.
yeah, yeah,
It's been amazing for me personally. I never read as a kid. Couldn't even, yeah.
Just didn't, did you? But I think as well, there's something that I've been sharing on my social media page, not that I share on it very often, but it's that when I had young children, there was one thing that I stopped doing was reading for myself,
yeah,
pleasure for
oh, yeah,
myself. I didn't have the time. I remember my friends started a book club and I couldn't go. I never made it. I didn't have time to read the book. Then when they came to meet up, there was always drama with the kids. Like I couldn't do it. I was working and they were young and it was just so difficult.
yeah.
And I said to myself, right, this year I'm going to start reading more. And I think I've read like 5 or 6 books already this year, haven't I? But the
All
thing that,
husband related, all
yeah,
husband related
there's a
niche
really
one.
good one. It's called How to Kill Your Husband. It's really good.
They're all about
No,
husbands.
no, How to
Really
Kill Men and Get Away
Dean
with It.
sleeping with one eye open.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting that you said that, and I know deep down that I need to practice what I preach. But like now I lie in bed at night and I'm maybe reading my book, and Daisy, my eldest, is lying there next to me reading hers,
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah,
like she's seeing that model that I'm reading a book, and I thought to myself, I've not done this, I've not been doing it enough because I
yeah, yeah.
haven't made the time. But all you have to do is pop down this,
Mm.
pick up a book instead, and it sounds really simple, and I don't know why I didn't do it years ago. but it has made me happier. Reading a
Oh,
book makes
absolutely.
me much more happier than going on that and scrolling.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, it
Apart
is
from
so.
when I'm being sent your memes on
Well,
my work
yeah,
group. We're like, there he is
yeah.
again.
But no, you're right, and it is, and if you can instill that love of reading, it lasts a lifetime. And it's like my wife's an avid reader; she's constantly reading. She absolutely loves it, and you can see it rubs off on the kids. The kids, they just want to emulate what you they want to do, what you do, and setting an example. And even if it's something you don't necessarily like, but if you can just pretend, kids are a sucker for it. It's like on the playground, all the kids at my school think I should be playing for United.
Oh,
To be fair, at the minute,
yeah.
I
Oh, you
probably
probably
should
would
be.
get in that team, to be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, to be fair. I've got no cartilage in my knees, but I could still do a better job than an Arna. Um, but it's just, you can make it out like they do look up to you, and I suppose that is the privilege of being a parent and being a teacher is you become this role model to children. It's such a powerful thing knowing that you're able to like mold these little people who are just like I just sometimes find myself just looking at my kids like how have I done this? Like how have I managed to create these amazing, incredible people? And what an absolute privilege it is to be able to like just influence how they're going to be, like influence the way they're going to be and how they're going to live their life and hopefully go on and change the world for the better. And that's what I think makes parent, and it's not easy, it's hard, it's really tough. It's harder now than it's ever been before because it's like there's not as much guidance out there. There's not as much help for parents unless you go on the internet and then it's you
Then
don't
it's
know what to but
conflicting anyway.
oh, it's like 1 minute you see a video, do this, do that, and it is hard. Um, but it's such a privilege. It's the best thing being a parent. It really is.
Well, Dean's got a little game that we've actually prepared for you. It's very,
Oh
very
wow.
simple. It's actually based on a scene that we saw from Sex and the City where Carrie Bradshaw
Okay.
has her dresses, and you have to either toss it or keep it. But rather than
Okay.
dresses, it is aspects maybe of school. So just
Right.
one word, toss or keep. What do you
Okay.
think? So Dee's got a little list for you. They're very
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
Can I answer them as well?
Yeah, but let Lee do it first.
Right then.
Go on then.
Sports day.
Oh, keep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I saw your videos about being competitive. It has to be competitive.
Yeah.
Has to be competitive.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
and that doesn't mean it's not inclusive. Like we do it really well at my school, where the kids who are good at sport get their chance to shine, but
yeah.
everyone's included and everyone's competing. I cannot stand this sort of narrative of like, oh, we shouldn't give any medals, or everyone's a winner, everyone gets a medal. I just
Actually, it
think it
actually
sends,
hurt. I hate it so much. It hurts me. I stormed out
yeah,
of our sports day 2 years ago, didn't I? And wrote the school a letter saying how fucking ridiculous
An
it was.
email, you
An
know.
email. I went ballistic. Yeah,
yeah.
I just thought, what is this shit? And I just literally walked off. I know it sounds really petty, but I was so angry of what I was watching about how they were treating the kids, how just uncompetitive it had got. And I just walked and I was like, this is not how we want to raise our kids, like in this
No, no.
environment. And yeah, not
I genuinely
minor moments, but I lost them. I did lose
No,
it.
I'd be this. I'd be the same. I'd be the same because I just think it's not what sport is. Sport
No,
is a competition, and you are going to lose,
yeah,
but you don't fail in losing. You've got to learn through losing.
of
Like
Yeah,
course you have.
I genuinely think one of the most important. Just another tip that one of the most important things you can do as a parent and as a teacher is get kids into sport.
yeah,
And there is a sport out there. There is something for everyone. And like my kids, that's all we do is me and my wife spend our whole weekends stood out in a freezing cold field watching the kids play sport, football, rugby, athletics.
Best. It's the best.
I love it as a parent. It's the best thing. Like I don't think there's many better feelings as a parent than when you stood on the sidelines watching your kids play and another parent turns to you and goes, "Oh, your lad's having a good game today." And
Yeah.
I'm like,
You
it
don't
is
get
honest.
it, do you? I love it watching Daisy play football. I
I
love
do
it.
get it, and I'm a very avid supporter of their gymnastics and their inside sports. But cold Sunday morning football, it's just not for
Our
me.
eldest just started playing football and she's like doing quite well. And
Yeah, yeah.
I go to every training. I'm like so engaged in the training. Not pushy, just love watching
No,
it.
no.
I just love like
Oh,
what
yeah, yeah.
I'm not put I hate the pushy person shouting at their kids. I'm like, fucking hell, it's a 10-year-old girl. She just miscontrolled it. She didn't mean to. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah, yeah.
not about
No,
that. But
Yeah,
I mean, I think my wife thinks I'm a bit pushy sometimes, but my thing is always effort.
Yeah,
Like I
effort.
couldn't
Yeah,
care less whether they win or lose, but when you're on that field, you give it everything.
yes,
Because for me, sport is preparing kids for life. It's like what you learn, and this is why I'm so passionate about kids doing sport. And just to your point, a freezing cold Sunday morning, what you need, heated Gillet, right? It's the best invention. Get one off Amazon, little battery pack, you're nice and toasty. So you never have to feel the cold. But it's like the life lessons they learn from doing it. And what I love about the world we live in now is how much women's sport has grown.
yeah,
And what my wife was talking about when she was younger, she never had opportunities to play football or my daughter, the rugby she plays and the friendship she gets from it and it's unbelievable. I absolutely love it. And it's not always easy and the kids have to deal with adversity. Like they'll play a game of rugby and the referee will be an absolute nightmare. And it's like, yeah, but like we've had it this year. So the two lads play in the same rugby team and one of them got dropped from the rugby team
oh, I like.
which absolutely,
Oh no, but that's
yeah, yeah.
heartbreaking.
It was horrible and
Yeah.
it crushed him. It absolutely crushed him, especially when, you know, his brother's being picked and he's not. It is horrible, but it's part of like you say, it's part of
It is
life.
part of life.
So he's got a choice to make. He can either let this affect him and let that one coach's opinion stop him from making, or he can go, no, no, I'm going to prove him wrong. And
Yeah.
that becomes motivation for him to work harder, to push himself further and get back in the team, which he'll do, you know. So it's like it's so important. I'm so passionate about it. And I just think what again, one of the things that really frustrates me at the minute is the lack of funding going into school sport. And I think when I first started teaching, you had like school sports partnership in the build up to the Olympics 20. Were you teaching? Have you been teaching that
15
long?
years been a teacher.
So yeah,
Yeah,
would it
you
have been around then? There
Yeah.
was loads of money going into sport in the build up to the Olympics at 2012. And then literally overnight the Tories cut it all. And it went from like sport, just opportunities where you'd have cricket coaches coming in and just getting kids to try it. And if they liked it, right, here's your local clubs go. And there's just nowhere near as much of that anymore because the funding and the support's not there. And it's such a shame because I know we're still thriving sports wise as a country, but if we don't continue to invest in 10 years, people will be asking, why have we not done very well at the Olympics? And I'll go, well, it's because the Tories cut all the funding in 2013, 14 and the knock on impact that's had.
Yeah. And all the kids
Such a
sitting
shame.
at home on their iPads.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
we're definitely keeping sports day, but
Yeah,
compare.
sorry, we went on a massive tangent there, didn't
No,
we?
no, it's good to give context in each answer. Mufti days.
Is that on close day?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've never called it Mufti Day.
Yeah, no,
Called it.
I keep. Yeah, no issue with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
okay.
Class.
Would you not?
I work in a school with a lot of children who have ASD, and for
Right,
those children to come into school and choose clothes, they find that quite difficult. And
right.
also, our eldest just really struggles with mufti days. She gets in a panic. It's always a drama. She doesn't know what to wear, and I'm always just like, oh, they have loads of mufti
Just
days at
easier
her
with
school as
uniform.
well, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just easier in the morning with uniform.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
that's my little debate on that one.
Class assemblies.
Oh, I love them.
Oh yeah. I,
Yeah, I love
when I
them.
can go though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean that's annoying. Yeah, but I love I've said
I
before like
love them. I love them.
yeah,
Sorry, you love them. What happened last year for daisies?
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, but that's not because
She
I don't.
was left. I said to her at the end, she knew I couldn't go, and he was supposed to go. And then I was getting these texts, and basically, I've got an Apple Watch, and my watch never really goes off during the school day, and my watch was going buzz, 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 and I was like, "What's going on?" So I had a little cheeky look because obviously this was at about 9:30. My break wasn't till later on at like 10:30.
yeah,
And I just was like, what is going on? I said to my TA, I've got to have a little look. And I went in my drawer and had a little look. And then everyone's messaging me like, poor Daisy, apparently. You know, when they finish the assembly and they all go off to say hello to their parents. She was just
yeah,
left alone sitting on the
yeah.
stage. I was like,
Part,
pain.
look, part of life.
Oh. No, I love assemblies. Like there's something so therapeutic about a room full of children singing. Like
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I genuinely think that's why like festivals in the UK are the best in the world. Like stick Coachella up your backside, nothing compares to Glastonbury because everyone has grown up just singing the
Yeah,
hearts out in an assembly. No, I keep for definite.
keep
Year,
definitely.
year six Sats.
Oh, been off.
There you go.
What was it? It wasn't bin, was it? What was it? Toss,
Oh, toss
toss,
or keep.
toss,
Yeah, but bin
Oh
it.
no,
Yeah.
toss,
bin off's
bin.
fine. Bin off's
Yeah,
get a big message across. School holiday fines, you already said. He said, so
yeah, bin
we
them
can
off.
toss, yeah, bin that one. Staff meetings.
Oh God, bin. Oh no, it depends. It depends what it's
Purposeful
when you
one.
have. Yeah, it's having them for having them sake, and it's like if it can be done in an email, just send the email. Do you know what I mean?
There you go.
Um,
School uniform.
keep,
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
keep.
homework for
Uh,
primary school.
for primary, bin off. Well,
But do
yeah,
you
bin off.
reading? Do you reading?
Unless it's reading and times tables, but all the other twinkle worksheets can get in the bin.
School trips.
Oh, keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seen that in the media this week.
Uh,
Uh, People commenting on school trips saying they're expensive and pointless. Totally disagree.
I saw one. So I made a video. It was last year actually, because someone had basically said teachers should pay themselves to go on the trips. So like the reason that school trips are so expensive is because teachers get to come on them for free. And I just was like, oh my, are you being serious? Like the, the time it takes organizing a trip,
Yep.
the residentials, which are amazing, and I think for so many children, give them experience that they'd never get elsewhere. But you speak there's levels of tired, isn't there? There's like normal tired, there's teacher tired, then there's like teacher on a residential tired. They are full on. They are, and don't get me wrong, when we talk about the memories you make with kids and the impact you have, they're so worthwhile, but they're
Yeah.
so hard. To no teacher's going to pay to go on it. The cost of it is, but it's just again, it's the cost of living of everything, and
Yeah.
it's a shame because
And the
I think
coaches.
the coaches are unbelievable.
I'm got just if you're a parent and you're listening and you're wondering why your child's school trip is so expensive, we are going on a school trip and I'm telling you now, it is not far. It is about a 25-minute drive there and a 25-minute drive back. And for the
Yeah,
coach, we have been quoted, our cheapest quote was £700.
yeah,
So if
yeah,
you're wondering why your child's school trip is so expensive, take a look at the coach prices.
yeah. What we it was a grand era this year than it was the year before for a coach.
Wow,
A
there you
grand,
go.
Or buy a
it's mad.
coach and rent it out.
Oh, there you go. There's a business model then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
But I think the thing with school trips is it just gives children experiences, and that's what we sometimes we're so wrapped up in our little world we don't see how what it's like for other children. There's some children that beyond their own street and school they never get. And this is just going back to the SATs thing. This is why the whole SAT stuff is completely pointless. Like the children will sit a reading comprehension test, and it's ultimately flawed because with comprehension you bring so much of your own experience to it. Now, if you've got kid like you said, you've got a caravan that takes us near a beach.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So let's say your daughter's sitting a SATs test in year six, and the text is a setting set at a beach. Then your daughter's going to be able to connect with that text because they've been there. They've felt the sand between the toes. They're able to connect more personally to the text. A child in a city school that's never visited, they're not going to be able to. It doesn't matter how well they can read. They've not got that text to self link. So that's why school trips are so important because it sort of helps develop the whole child. So they are really important, but again, it's just the cost of it all is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
There's one more.
Oh, no, well, you've covered one. You've
I
covered the residential trips. So, formal learning in autumn term year one.
No, I would love like the UIFS model right the way through. Do you know like the continuous provision
Yeah.
right the way through? I think kids need to play.
They need to play.
They need to play so much more than they are doing, you know. There was an article about how children get less break time now than they've ever had before in England. I don't know, like longer school days, but actually less break time and lunch time, and it's just, they need time to play. Like we were talking about before, like getting outside, and that Anxious Generation book talks about how, 15 years ago there was this sort of moral panic about letting kids go outside and play, and like the end of risky play. And I don't know if you do you have like forest schools in your school?
Not in my school, but the girls' school had one for a while, and they
Yeah.
loved it.
Like this is this new trend, and nothing against it because we do it in our school and it's absolutely brilliant. But when I first started teaching, you just did it. You
Yeah.
just went outside whenever you
Out.
could. As soon as it was
Yeah.
sunny, right, kids were going outside now, we're just doing the lesson outside because we can. Whereas like now it's like, oh, we're going to create a whole new initiative of just getting kids outside. And I just think, where are we as a society when it's like seen as this sort of novelty thing to just go outside and play, but kids need it so they need it so much. Because it's about again that resilience of solving conflict when when you fall out with your friends and not doing it through a bloody screen where you can't see the emotional impact of your words and all that nonsense. And we were talking about in the staff room the other week, like when was the last time you saw a kid in a cast?
Yeah, they're not breaking their arms as much. Yeah.
When you were kids, you were signing casts every week. Someone else had come in with their arm in a cast, and you're like, have you done that? Fell out of a tree. You're like, oh well, join the club. And it just doesn't happen as much now.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. What was the
We need
what was
more
the original?
broken limbs, basically, don't we? We need more broken limbs.
More risky play, I
More
would
risky.
say.
Okay. Yeah.
More risky play. So continue. Not saying that necessarily in school, but it's like with risk assessments, and it's
Yeah.
like
Oh,
we can't. What's the word? Like mollycoddle kids, they've got to have opportunities to fail. They've got to have opportunities to learn, and risky play is so important. So, oh yeah, that sort of formal. No, it can wait a little bit longer. I think for year one. I think the sort of continues. Just getting them outside more. Get them outside more.
Oh, I love it. That was actually the end of our toss or keep. That's all we managed to
Oh,
pick
bro.
up. But I quite like that, toss or keep. I feel like
Yeah, yeah,
we're on
it's
the same
good.
page with a lot of things there. Definitely. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, no worries. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for coming on today with us. I feel like there
Oh,
is
no
so
worries.
much more we could have actually covered in the time. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
give you a little phone call back up going, oh, Lee, come back. We need to put something else to rights from
No,
teaching.
absolutely. Yeah, it's good. It's good to get it all
There
off
was
your
actually
chest.
quite a bit we didn't cover, wasn't there? So I
Yeah,
think there's we could definitely do. There's so much to talk about with that. So
Yeah.
so much more we could
we
talk
could
about
rant
now.
about and moan about. That's what we love doing.
Oh, yeah. It's good, isn't it? It's good to get it off your chest. It's yeah. No, I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for listening for joining us.
Thank you, Lee. Lovely to meet you, mate.
Yeah, you too. Take care.